Hi everybody, it's Oksana and today I'm going to show you how to make this pendant right here. This is a Cabochon pendant that uses some pretty large gauge wires here, some pretty thick 16 gauge wires. So if you want to see how to make this Cabochon pendant, then just keep watching. So this is my Cabochon. It's like 1.25 inches tall. It's an oval shape, and then I have a 5.5 roughly inch piece of round dead soft copper 16 gauge wire. So what I want to do is shape this in an oval that roughly mimics my stone shape. And I want it to go behind my stone. So just, slightly smaller than the stone itself. So it goes behind it like this. And then if these ends are looking a little too long or uneven, like mine are here, you can always trim a little bit to make them more even. Now I'm taking a file and I'm filing these two ends so that they are flat. Now I'm taking my round nose pliers and I am curling these ends. Like that on both sides. And now I'm going to hammer this. You basically need an iron block and you need a chasing hammer. And what you want to do is you just want to hammer this area here. I mean, you can hammer all of it if you want. Oop. I can't really do this while holding the camera, but you just want to hammer this area and it'll make it nice and flat. And so after you hammer, you want to file these little ends again, because see, it's just kind of like flat across. You want them to be a little more rounded. So what you're doing is you're filing the little corners here, just to round these little ends so you don't have sharp corners, basically is the point of this. Now you want to take some pliers and you want to lift up this portion here with the curls. Like that. So that your stone can be in here with this still in the back, and then the curls just kind of like sit on top. Now if you find like this wire is no longer in the back, when you do that, like it got too wide, you can just kind of turn these curls a little bit, and that will make this tighter. Like when you make them touch, it'll make it even tighter so that it can be in the back. So this is what you want it to look like so far. And to ensure a good fit, you want to, with your, putting your stone there, kind of seeing how it fits, determine whether you need to lift these up a little bit more, kind of away from the stone to make the stone, let's see, which way is mine going? This way. Fit in there nicely. And then if it, like this part of it sticks out too far, you can take this and turn it down so that it's a little flatter. Like it goes out away from the stone, but then this part is a little flatter so you can like see this area so that it's not sticking straight up. So once you're satisfied with the fit and look of it, take some 26 gauge wire and start wrapping it around one side here. And after some wraps, then you want to connect it to this side. So go ahead and bring this wire under and wrap it around this side. So I'm just going to take my pliers and I'm going to push that down just so they're lined up kind of next to each other there. Just going to wrap enough times so that it matches the other side. And you want to, after this, you're going to want to trim all these little ends off. So once it matches, I'm just going to go back to this side because right now they're only connected by one wire crossing under here. So if you go back to this side and do a few more wraps, now they're kind of connected two places and it's a little bit of a stronger connection there. Alright, now I'm just going to cut all these little ends off, pinch them down with my pliers. Alright, you can put your stone back in. See how that is looking. I think mine needs to be just slightly lifted up this way. Okay, now I'm just going to put this part of it down. There we go, kind of like that. And then you can kind of see this little wire back here, so you can bend it up if you want to hide it. Next, I'm taking a 6-inch piece of the same wire, 16 gauge, round dead soft copper wire. I'm bending it in the shape of my stone, so an oval shape here. And I want it to be just slightly narrower than my stone. So if I have my piece here, that this is going to be a little narrower, like this. And then I'm taking these little ends and I'm curling them and just making a loop on each end. Alright, so now you want to put this on top. You want to hold it here. You might have to bend it a little bit so it's not super flat, you know, so it has a curve to it like the stone. And then you want to push these so they go under right here. So you might have to take your pliers and lift these up a little bit if there's no room. So once you do that and they go under, what you want to do is hold it and then bend each side, which might be tricky, so that it touches the metal. Might be easier if you just use your pliers and just kind of curled it to touch. There we go. That is easier, isn't it? So something like this is what we have now. I'm just going to hammer these little loops. Alright, so now after it's hammered, what you want to do is you want to take this piece, you want to connect it to this piece right down here. So I'm going to take a little piece of 26 gauge wire, start by wrapping it a few times around this just to like secure it to that. And then I will go ahead and add this additional piece. And I'm going to wrap around both. Just a whole bunch of times. You want it to really be connected and secure. And then once you're done, you're just going to wrap around this bottom base wire a few times again. Alright, so when you're done, you trim off your little tails of your wire, pinch it down. Just going to put my stone in now. So now you have that connection down here. Slide these wires under here. Now is your chance to mess around with these to make them look even. Now I'm taking a piece of 26 gauge weaving wire, going to the back here of my piece. I am kind of sliding it in here and just wrapping it a few times around my base wire just to secure it. And then you want to attach this little loop, so you want to put it through the loop. And just attach that to your base wire. Alright, so that was about 3 wraps, and I think I'm good with that. Your stone might still have the ability to be sliding around here. You can cut this little tail end and pinch that down. Now I'm just going to wrap this around that base wire again. So now that I'm past the loop, I'm not wrapping it around the loop anymore. I'm just wrapping it just around this bottom base wire here. Now you want to put it through right here, so this big hole, and then underneath and under the base wire. So it's going to look like that. See that little wrap that it made? Do that again. go. Now I'm going to wrap it around this little crisscross at the top here. Just a few times. Okay. Okay, and then you can trim your wire off and pinch that down. So then you want another piece of 26 gauge wire. And we're going to do essentially the same thing here on this side that we did on the other side. We're going to put it under, wrap it around the base wire just a few times. And then we're going to wrap it around the base wire and that loop. So I'm moving it up a little bit. Have it go through this little loop. So you just want that to be even. Oops, that didn't go around the loop. So however many times, there we go, you did on that other side. So I did 3. So I'm going to do 3 here as well. So that was 2, and this is 3. Let's see what that's looking like from the front here. Now I'm just going to put it through, just wrapping it just around that bottom wire. Just going to fix it a little bit. It kind of crossed over. There we go. Perfect. So just wrapping it around that bottom wire just to kind of move it along, because I am going to wrap it just like I did on the other side around that next wire, but I want to kind of get to that first by just kind of moving it along this bottom wire here. And there we go. Alright, so now here's my front. This time when I go under, I'm bringing it under and through. Probably helps if my wire is a little straighter. Alright, so I'm trying to bring it through this hole here. There we go. So that I can make the same thing that I did there. I had the like 2 little wraps there. So I'm going to do the same thing here, make 2 little wraps, if I can. Alright, and then after you do the 2 little wraps, you can just bring it to the back. And then here on the back, you can kind of wrap it just a few times around this bottom wire again. Just so that it's wrapped like around 1 wire before we go ahead and trim that off. After you do that, you can just trim off the little end and pinch it down. I have this other end here as well, so I'm just gonna trim those both and pinch that down with my pliers. And now if your stone is sliding around a little bit, like this frame should be smaller than the back of your stone, so your stone should just kind of be wedged in here. But what can happen is if it's close in size, it can kind of make your stone slide around. So you want to take your pliers And you want to take this little edge and you just want to push it onto your stone just a little more like this. Like that. I'm going to take a little piece of 20 gauge square wire and I'm going to put it right through here. See how there's like a little gap here on the bottom? Like that. This will help further secure your stone. And what you can do if you want, you don't have to use square wire, you can use round wire, but if you are using square wire, you can twist it if you like the look of that. Just by taking your pliers, just kind of taking one little spot at a time and twisting it. Just kind of moving up the wire, twisting a little bit at a time. And on this side as well. So on this side, just make sure you're going in the same direction, so you're not untwisting the other side when you do this side. You know what, you could just take the whole wire out and just twist it first and then put it in, if that'll make things easier. I know I put mine in first, but then I had the bright idea to twist it, so you could definitely do this ahead of time. All right. Wire is in, it is twisted. Now we're going to bring it up this way. And I'm just going to put the end of this through this little triangular gap. And on this side as well. Like that. So it looks like from the front. You can kind of straighten your wires a little bit if they got bent. Make sure it's all even looking. Okay, so that's pretty even. And now I'm just gonna cross them over like this, and I'm gonna cut, leave just a little bit of room like this, and trim. Now you can take your pliers or your round nose pliers and work this underneath this base wire. You might have to try to just kind of like lift up that base wire a little bit to get that to go under. There we go. Once it goes under, you can kind of grab that little end and close up that loop. And now it's connected. And the same thing here. Okay, like that. You can kind of press these against the stone. Now your stone should be secure. I'm just going to take this away from my other wire, so it's a little bit more on the side of my stone and not right up against that wire like that. So this is kind of optional, but I want to add a little bead, a little copper bead. It's 4 millimeters, I believe. I'm using a piece of 26 gauge wire, sliding it on like that, and just putting my two ends of my 26 gauge wire just kind of under here and pushing it so that there's a little bead like that. And then here on the back, I'm taking these little ends and I'm just wrapping them around these little twisted square wires that we have going on here, just to secure this wire. And then you can just cut it after you wrap each end a few times. you can just cut it off. All right, almost done here. So if your stone you feel like it's sliding around a little bit, you can take this twisty wire and just kind of push it almost like to the back of the edge of your stone here on both sides. So you still will be able to see that pretty, decorative element of it, but it'll kind of hold your stone if you feel like it's, moving side to side. And I think this part is kind of cool. For your bail, you're probably wondering, like, how's she gonna do the bail on this one? So I'm gonna put my chain, sorry you can't see, through one side like this, and then out the other side like that. So it's actually hanging like this, which I think is pretty neat. So here is what it looks like after oxidizing the copper. And just a close-up. So I have this twisty wire, nice and flat against the stone and going in between here. Here it is coming out the back. So it's kind of on top of my stone up here. Then it goes to behind my stone, and then it goes to be on top of my stone again until it gets to this side. Then it goes behind again and then on top. I just wanted to point that out more closely because that keeps the stone from kind of tilting from side to side. So here is the back, the front. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.